Okay, good afternoon. Shir is being sponsored today by in memory of Joe Polanski, Zechvayin L'Vracha, by his loving family, El Nishmatai. And the Shir is also Leila Nishmat Yaakov Cohen Ben Gedalia Cohen, Avram Yosef Ben Yaakov Cohen, William and Helen, Rochel Bas Yosef, David Ben Avraham, Tzidov Ben Chaim Pesach, Yitzchak Ben Sarah, Devorah Bas Yitzchak, Avram Ben Mordechai David, Ruben Ben Shmuel, Shalom Bas Achani, Yeshua Ben Shmuel, Chana Golda, Bas Yisrael Chaim Ben Feger, Mordechai Netzach Ben Rivka, Rochel Bas Yosef, Eliezer Ben Yaakov, Chaim Ben Gedalia, Zalman Leib Ben Moshe, Chaim Elio Ben Yosef Moshe, Amichai Ben Yaakov, and Gedalia Ben Tzvi Ruvain, Leila Nishmatam. Today's Asor B'Tevis. We'll talk about the fast a little later, but first we'll talk about the topic euthanasia and halacha. Does halacha ever permit euthanasia? Yehuda is kind enough to hand out the Maramakomot sheets, so we'll know where we're coming from. Euthanasia and halacha. What does the Torah have to say about that? And afterwards, we have time, we'll talk about the fast. Why we're fasting today. Take a look at your source sheets, side number 1. Of course. Just remind me. Source number 1, Yosef. You have that? It's a Gemara in Ksubas. Source number 1, side number 1. The Gemara in Ksubas, what happened on the day Rebbe died? Who yom enough nafshe the Rebbe? The day that Rebbe died. Look how the Talmud calls dying. Noch nafshe. What does that mean, Avi? Noch nafshe. His soul was at ease. His soul was resting. When a person dies, his soul rests and at ease. Noch nafshe. The day that Rebbe died, the rabbis, because of his illness, decreed a public fast. In Ishmael Natan ben Shmuel. The rabbis, the day that he was dying, they declared a public fast. And they begged mercy that God should spare him and give him more years, right? And they said, Kol man doma noch nafshe de Rebbe. And they said, you see that, Sarah, side number 1? Anyone that says that Rebbe died shall be pierced with a sword. What does that mean? Footnote 3, see that? The rabbis wished to ensure that they would remain ignorant of Rebbe's death. Why? They knew that once they learned of it, they would be compelled to cease davening for him, for it is not proper to pray for a person's resurrection. If, however, if they would remain ignorant that he's dead, they could operate on the presumption that he's still alive and continue to pray, in which case their prayers might be turning back to life. They therefore said, don't mention that he's dead. Very strange. Now the next paragraph in source 3, footnote, one reason the rabbis took such drastic measures to ensure Rebbe's continued life was because his merit shielded the entire generation. A tzaddik protects his entire generation. See, throughout all the years of Rebbe's suffering, the world never required rain. We need rain now. Right? But we don't need a tzaddik like Rebbe. Let it rain, let it rain, let it rain. That's right. Today, the special prayer about rain. So all the years of Rebbe's sickness, the world never required rain. And this Bereshis Rabbah tells us 13 years our teacher Rebbe suffered from tooth disease, and all those 13 years no woman died in childbirth in Eretz Yisrael, and no woman miscarried in Eretz Yisrael. So therefore the rabbis went to extraordinary lengths to pray for Rebbe. Okay, so back in the text now. Back in the text. You have it, Batsheva? Yeah. So the maidservant of Rebbe, listen to this. The maidservant of Rebbe, she was not a simple woman. She was no slouch. Went to the roof and she said, Elyonim avakshin Rebbe, the angels above seek to take Rebbe's soul. They need him in the yeshiva Shamala. V'hatachtonim avakshin Rebbe, and those below seek Rebbe. There was a tug of war, a tug of war between the angels who wanted him in the heavenly academy, and down here, Talmidim wanted him in the earthly academy, right? Yiratzain, that what? May it be is willed that those below overcome those above. That Rebbe should what? What? Live and remain down here in the earthly academy and not yet in the heavenly academy. Kiv in the chazei, kama zimna, once she saw that Rebbe had to go to the bathroom many, many times, he suffered from terrible stomach ailment. And that each time he removed his tefillin and replaced his tefillin, because you can't wear tefillin in the bathroom, to come at Stair, and she saw how Rebbe was suffering what? Greatly, right? Amra, she said, Yehi Ratzon, may it be your will, Hashem, Shekafu el yoinim estachtainim, may it be the will that the heavenly academy, the angels above, should what? Overcome what? Those below, that Rebbe should die. Why, Avi? Put him out of his misery. Right? You, do you have a source sheet? Everyone have one? Thank you. Source number 7, footnote 7. This is incredible. Footnote 7, Yiddish Basheva. From the Maidservants Act, we learned that when one suffers greatly from an illness, Le'aleinu, and there is no chance that he will what? Recover. We are required, say what? We are required to pray for his death. So says the Ran. But, Rabbi Abramson, if you look in the Rambam, the Shulchan Aruch, it's nowhere recorded this halacha. The Ran brings it based on this Gemara and Dorim, that from her actions, we see that when a person has no chance to recover, is suffering greatly, we are required to pray for his death. But the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch do not bring this halacha down. So we'll have to talk about that. So anyway, let's get back to our text. So she prayed, may those in heaven overcome those on earth, that Rebbe should what? Go to the heavenly academy. But the rabbis did not stop praying for mercy, because the rabbis, Batsheva, they couldn't let their beloved rabbi go. So they kept praying that he remain where? In the earthly academy. They wouldn't let him go. So what did she do? Gershon, what did she do? Shokla Kuza, she took a small earthen vessel and threw it to the ground. And what do I care what kind of vessel it was? To distract the rabbis, Yosef, to stop them from praying. So what do I care what kind of vessel it was? Who cares? Aren't we all a small earthen vessel, Ray? All of us are made out of what? Earth. Right? So that's the paradox of the human being. You have a body taken from the earth, the lowest of the low, one extreme, containing what? A chelik elahai mimal. Containing what? A part of God himself. The ultimate paradox of human being, two extremes. We are the earthen vessel. You can't get much lower than the earth. And we contain a godly soul. Chelik elahai mimal, a tzelem Elohim. Maddie, two extremes. The human being is the ultimate paradox. The earthly vessel containing a part of God himself. Ki chelek Hashem amo. It's a pasuk in Pasha Zoysa Bracha, Deuteronomy 32, that every Jew has a part of God inside of him. Ki chelek Hashem amo. So that's the human being, the walking paradox. So anyway, therefore she took a small earthen vessel and she threw it from the roof to the ground. When the rabbis heard the crash, what did they do, Batsheva? They stopped davening, right? Yes. So they stopped davening. V'noch nafshei de Rabbi. And what happened? Rabbi died. What is death? Noch nafshei. Rest. He's not suffering anymore. Rabbi died. So, what's the message? Earthen vessel, Rebbe's earthen vessel was broken. He was racked with pain and suffering, his guf. We come from the earth and return to the earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Ofar ata. What does God say to Adam? You are dirt, and to dirt you shall return, a clay vessel. So she broke the clay vessel, symbolizing that Rebbe's clay vessel, Avi, what's Rebbe's clay vessel? His broken body is broken. And there's no reason to keep his neshama trapped in a broken vessel. Let him go. Therefore, a dead person is called a niftar. In Hebrew, niftar means release. Remember that song, please release me, let me go. After 120 years, not before. A dead person is called a niftar because the neshama is released. So she released Rebbe because he was suffering too much. Okay? The rabbi said to Bar Kapara, one of the Talmidim, go investigate Rebbe's condition. Because they stopped praying, they were figured that what? Maybe what? That he's niftar. Right? So go check on his condition. Ozal ashkai denoch nafshe. On top of the page, source number, side number 1, he discovered that Rebbe is dead. On top of side number 1, right? Right side. He tore his garments in mourning. Because a Rebbe is like a parent. You tear your garments in mourning. Why do you tear your garments? Why do you tear the garments in mourning? Why? Why? Why is that a sign? That's on the Chama. Just like, is my shirt Maddie me? Is my jacket me? No. My body is not me. So it's a nechama for a relative, for a Rebbe, you tear kriya, it's a comfort. That my Rebbe, his body is torn and broken, but that's only his jacket. Just like the jacket is not me, my body is not me. It's a jacket that the neshama wears. So when you tear the jacket, for a mourner, you're comforting yourself that my beloved relative is not torn and broken. That's only his what? His bodysuit. But he's reunited, and it feels so good. Okay, where were we? So anyway, he tore his garment in mourning and shifted it tear back so rabbis would not realize what had occurred. Look at note number 11. Why? Footnote 11. So for Rebbe, you tear kriya like a parent, because your parent gives you physical life, and your Rebbe gives you what? Spiritual life. Your Rebbe is a spiritual parent. You have to say kriya for him too. Do kriya for him also. So footnote 11, he didn't want to transgress the Rebbe's decree, the rabbi's decree forbidding mentioning Rebbe died, or the shock might give them a heart attack. Couldn't live without a Rebbe. Pasav Amar, he opened up by saying, the angels and the righteous ones, what? They took hold of the Holy Ark. Who's the Holy Ark? The Rebbe. And they fought over it. The angels have vanquished the righteous one. There was a tug of war. The angels won, and the Holy Ark is captured. So they understood that what? Noch nafshe, that what? Are you telling me don't stop beating around the bush, right, Reb Nachum? The angels won the tug of war. That means that what? That our beloved master is what? Dead? So what did he say to them? You said it. I don't want to say it. You're not supposed to be a bearer of bad news. Look at note number 13, Rabbi Abraham. Bar Kapara, one of the closest disciples of Rebbe, did not wish to be the bearer of what? Of bad news, right? So anyway, the Gemara speaks further of Rebbe's death. You see that? Well, still on side number 1, the right side, the second paragraph, the Gemara speaks about Rebbe's death. Bishas pitarasa shal Rebbe. When Rebbe passed away, he lifted up his 10 fingers to heaven, and what did he say? Ribono shel olam. It is revealed and known before you that I toiled with my 10 fingers in the study of Torah. I used all of my koiches, all of my energy, what? In pursuit of Torah. But I did not benefit from worldly pleasures, even according to the toil of my little finger. What does that mean? Rebbe was a very wealthy man. But he said that all the pleasures that I got in this world was what? L'shem Shamayim. All L'shem Shamayim. Of course you're supposed to enjoy the world. But you have to realize who's giving you all the goodies. Who is giving you the goodies? How much God loves us, that he wants to impress us and entertain us. Yutzvanecha, that there be peace in my place of eternal rest. Heavenly voice came out and said, he will come with peace, and they will rest upon their resting places. That's a pasuk where in Isaiah, see footnote 16, it speaks of the death of the righteous. That what? When a righteous person dies, he gets reunited with her source. The neshama is feminine. So Rebbe was assured that even though he suffered a lot in this world, there would be peace for him in what? In Olam Haba. Okay? Now let's go to side number 2. It's stapled together, side number 2. Tug of war between the angels and Rebbe's students. Right? The tug of war between angels and Rebbe's students over Rebbe. Who's going to get Rebbe? The Heavenly Academy or the Earthly Academy? Who's the hero in the story? Tirza, who's the hero in the story? How did you know that? Oh, gee. The hero or the heroine in the story is Rebbe's maid. Rebbe's maid. When she saw Rebbe's terrible pain and suffering, she turned off his life support system. Is that euthanasia? What was Rebbe's life support system, Sarah? What?
Prayers.
The students' prayers. Say a little prayer for me. Looks like she did an act of euthanasia. She turned off his life support system. The students davening, that was his life support. She crashed the earthen vessel. She switched off the life support system. Was she correct?
If you follow the hero.
Do we rule like the maid or do we rule like Rebbe's students? What's the answer, Golda? Machlokes. Now, side number 2, source 3. Side number 2, source 3. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein Zatzal. You see that? Are there patients who should not receive medication to lengthen their lives? Yes. In regard to the question of whether there are patients who should not receive medication to lengthen their lives, it is explicit. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein Zatzal points to Ar Gemara, the story of the death of Rebbe. The rabbi's prayer worked so that the Rebbe did not die, but he didn't get well, and he was suffering terribly. He was trapped. His neshama was trapped in this broken earthly vessel. And when Rebbe's handmaid, the heroine of the story, saw how much he was suffering, she said, "May be your will, Hashem, that the Heavenly Academy will win out over the Earthly Academy. And beam me up, Scotty." And the Talmud, why does the Talmud tell me the story, Elisha? The Talmud doesn't tell me stories. The Talmud tells me GPS, God's personal system. The Talmud relates the story to teach that there are times when one has to pray for a patient to what? Die. Like Rebbe's handmaid. If his suffering is so great, and we see that there's no way out for him. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein paskins like whom? Like the maid. Comes along the Tzitz Eliezer, and he says, Gershom, wait a minute. Not so simple. Source number 4, side number 2, Batsheva, source number 4. This is the Tzitz Eliezer, the great tzaddik and posek of the Shara Tzedek Hospital. Source number 4, side 2, we might understand. In the case of a terminally ill patient who is suffering greatly, it is permissible to pray for him to die, paying no regard to the precious moments of human life in this world. That is preferable to redeem the patient from the terrible physical pain by transporting his body from what? Life to what? To eternal life. These words have been what? Rejected. So it looks like the Tzitz Eliezer argues with the maid, and he also argues with Moshe Feinstein. These words have been rejected from Halacha. He rules against Reb Moshe and against the maid. We must understand the proof from the story of Rebbe in Tractate Tubot Ar Gemara, that even after the handmaid indicated to the rabbis that Rebbe was suffering and prayed for his death, they still continued to what? Pray for him. Proving that even when a patient is in terrible pain and cannot be cured by natural means, one still cannot stop praying for heavenly mercy, even when it seems what? Hopeless. We rely on what Rebbe's handmaid did? No, rely rather on what rabbis did. So Moshe Feinstein paskins like the maid, and the Tzitz Eliezer paskins like what? The Chachamim. Normally, Yochid v'Rabim alocha karabim, right, Maddie? The maid is only one, and the rabbis were many. So how come Moshe paskins like the maid? She's only a das Yochid, she's a minority opinion, and the rabbis ruled against her. So what is the Posik Hador, Moshe Feinstein Zatzal, why does he paskin that the maid did the correct procedure? You hear my question?
Well,
What?
It doesn't say she was punished for it.
Very good. Doesn't say she was punished, and therefore Moshe paskins like her. What? So let's go to source number 5. Rebbe observes suffering is precious. The Vilna Gaon says we come down here to accomplish matai. Matai is an acronym. FBI, CIA. Matai. We come to accomplish matai. Mem stands for mitzvot. Taf stands for what? Torah. And Yud stands for Yisurim. Pain. Stairway to heaven. So Rebbe observed in source number 5, suffering is precious. Why is that the stairway to heaven? Growing pains. So you see source number 5, what happened? He suffered. He had kidney stones, and he had scurvy and other ailments. And his cry would be heard. He would scream from pain. They would hear it 3 miles away. You hear this in source number 5? So why did he suffer so much? In the middle of source number 5, you would have a calf was taken to be slaughtered. When it broke away, and it hid it under Rebbe's coat. It was afraid to go to be shechted. It knew an animal can feel it's going to be shechted. So it hid under Rebbe's robe. What did Rebbe say to the calf? Sarah, what did he say? Go. For this is your mission, right? To become a steak. Your purpose is to become a steak.
Born to be steak.
Born to be spare ribs. What? Thereupon they said in heaven, since he has no pity, let us bring suffering on him. What does that mean? He said the truth. Right? Animals were created to be food for us. So what did he do so bad? One day, Rebbe's handmaid was sweeping the house, seeing some young weasels lying there. She made to sweep them away. He said, let them be. It is written that God's mercy is over what? God's mercy extends to what? To all creatures. So they said in heaven, since he is compassionate, so let us be compassionate to him.
He learned some compassion.
Right? Compassion even for animals. Tsar balachayim. Source number 6. Look at source number 6. How precious it is. Everybody suffers. But what's your attitude to suffering? Source number 6. You see that? There are 3 kinds of people who do not see the face of hell. Because of what? Extreme suffering. One who suffers from oppressive poverty, one who's afflicted with terrible bowel diseases or any pain, and one who is handed over to the government. You can pay me now, or you can pay me later. But we all must pay our dues. There's no way to what? To get around it. There's no way to get around it, right? So where are we? Who do we paskin like? Moshe Feinstein, we're paskin like the Tzitz Eliezer. So let's go to side number 3. See side number 3? Yeah. Side number 3, source 11. Rabbi Yehuda said, one who suffers from bowels exempt from putting on tefillin. Because if you have to, if you suffer from diarrhea, you can't wear tefillin because you can't keep your body what? Clean. Right? So Rebbe, he suffered a lot from bowel sickness, so he kept on putting on and taking off his tefillin. Source number 11, even though those suffering from intestinal illnesses are exempt from wearing tefillin, because they cannot take proper care to be clean, Rebbe would conduct himself with what? With particular holiness, and he was extremely careful, but it was painful. He had no koyach to put on the tefillin, take off the tefillin, put on the tefillin, and therefore the handmaid, the heroine of the story, she prayed that what? That Heaven would take him, and she switched off the life support system, which was the rabbis praying for him. And Rav Moshe Feinstein paskins like her. So according to Rav Moshe, euthanasia is sometimes allowed, and we'll see when and how. We'll see when and how. Look at source number 12. This is from the Principles of Biomedic Ethics. See source 12? Men tend to embrace an ethic of rights using quasi-legal terminology and impartial principles accompanied by dispassionate balancing and conflict resolution. Whereas women tend to affirm an ethic of care that centers on responsiveness in an interconnected network of needs, care, and prevention of harm. The core notion involves taking care of others. So therefore, Rebbe's maid was a female. So she had more rachmanis, Elisheva. She had more rachmanis than the students. Students were men, even though they loved Rebbe. But they couldn't identify with his suffering as much as what?
A woman.
A woman. Isn't that incredible? Women are more godlike. Batsheva, how do I know? The word neshama, the word shechina, the word Torah, the word mitzvah are all what? Coinky dinky? Women are more godlike. So this maid had a bina yetera that the super chief rabbis didn't have. So Moshe rules like her. Wow. Isn't that incredible? Now, euthanasia and halacha, is suicide ever allowed in Jewish law?
No.
Let's go to source number 13. Source number 13. Before we get there, in the book of Judges 16, you don't have it on your sheets, Vayomer Shimshon. Shimshon said, remember, he's standing against the pillars of the temple. He said, Tomois nafshi implishtim. Let me die together with the Palestinians. And he brought the house down literally. He brought the house down literally. And he killed more people in death than what? Life. So he did an act of suicide. Samson, Shimshon. Tomois nafshi implishtim in Judges 16. Is that allowed to commit suicide? Well, Major Roy Klein in the Lebanon War was leading a platoon of soldiers. He saw a live hand grenade. What did he do? He jumped on the grenade. He committed suicide to save his platoon. But suicide is against halacha, Gershom. My life, chayecha koidmin. We know that my life, what, comes first? What's the greatest mitzvah of the Torah? Staying alive, staying alive. But, says the Minchas Chinuch, in wartime, Shimshon was a warrior. He was fighting the PLO terrorists. Major Roy Klein was a warrior fighting the Lebanese Hezbollah. Mechemet mitzvah. When you're fighting a war in the land of Israel, for the state of Israel, for the Jewish people, then it's permitted, in fact, obligated, to give your life to what? Save others. So Minchas Chinuch says Shimshon did the right thing. Major Roy Klein did the right thing. In wartime, Mechemet mitzvah, it's permitted to give your life to save others. And that's what Shimshon did. And Major Roy Klein, Zecher Tzadik Avrach Hashem Yikam Damo. Source number 13. Is mercy killing allowed in the Torah? Source number 13. You with me, Abraham? This is Tractate Avodah Zarah 18. They found Hananiah ben Tradian, one of the 10 martyrs who was executed. He was studying Torah when the Romans said studying Torah is capital punishment. Source number 13. They took hold of him. Who's they? The Romans. They wrapped him in a Torah scroll, like the Nazis did. They wrapped him in a Torah scroll, placed bundles of branches around him, and set him on fire. The Nazis took a page from this. Then they brought tufts of wool, which they soaked in water and put it over his heart. Why did they do that? He shouldn't die quickly. He should suffer. So his disciples watching this, they said, Rebbe, open up your mouth. Open up your mouth that the fire should what? Should enter you and you'll die quickly, more quickly. He replied, let him who gave me my soul take it away. But no one is permitted to what? To commit suicide. No one is permitted to commit suicide. If you're warm, you can open a window, Elisheva. You want to open a window?
No.
I don't want to fall asleep. No, you don't want to open a window? Okay, fine. As long as I don't fall asleep, I'm okay. Okay? So the Rebbe said, no, I can't open my mouth. If you leave the door open, it'll be cooler, no? I think. Be cool if you leave the door open. Thank you. No one's allowed to commit suicide. So the Roman executioner, you hear this? Elisheva, saw how this pagan Roman executioner, no tzaddik, right? Gani, saw how he was suffering. And he said to him, Rabbi, if I raise the flames and take away the tufts of wet wool from your heart, will you cause me to enter Olam Haba together with you, this pagan Roman executioner? Rebbe, if I speed up your death, if I do an act of euthanasia on you, will you guarantee that me, pagan, will have a share in Olam Haba? What did he say?
Yes.
Yes. He said yes. Then the pagan Roman executioner said what, Yosef? Swear to me. Didn't believe the rabbi. Swear to me. The rabbi swore that if you perform an act of euthanasia on me, by speeding up my death, what? I'll make sure you go to Olam Haba. So what did the executioner do? He raised the flame. You have a paper? He raised the flame, removed the tufts of wool from the rabbi's heart, and what? And then he jumped into the flame. The executioner, because no, he'd be dead meat. The Roman governor was watching him. And a heavenly voice came out and said that what? The great rabbi and the executioner both
Accepted in heaven.
Olam Haba. It's incredible. One act of euthanasia gets him a ticket to ride to Olam Haba. He did an act of euthanasia. And then he gets rewarded with instant Olam Haba. But Chef, not instant coffee, instant Olam Haba. So I don't understand. If the student says, open your mouth and you'll die quicker, he said, I can't do that. So how come it was okay for the executioner to do it? Why is it okay for the executioner to perform euthanasia, and why couldn't the rabbi speed up his own death, Yehuda? I'm mixed up over here.
That would have been suicide.
That would have been suicide.
Yeah.
But telling the executioner to do euthanasia, that's permitted. It seems to be a contradiction over here. If it's okay for the executioner to speed up his death, why wasn't it okay, Maddie, for the rabbi himself to speed up his death? So what's the answer? I think the answer is active versus passive. Active versus passive? I mean, you can't hasten the death, but you can remove what? The impediments. So let's look at source number 14. You with me? Source number 14. This is Shulchan Aruch Yeredeya. See that, Rabbi Emerson? Source 14. One in a dying condition is considered a living being in all respects. We may not tie up his jaws. Source 14. Nor may we anoint him with oil or wash him, nor stop up of his organs, of the extremities, nor may we remove the pillow from underneath his head, nor may we put him on sand. It's a person that's dying. Clay or earth, nor may we place on his stomach a dish, a shovel, a flask of water, or a goblet of salt, nor may we summon the town on his behalf, nor may we hire pipers and lamenting women, nor may we close his eyes before his soul departs, because you might what? Speed up his death even one moment, then you call the murderer. You can't touch a dying person. Whosoever closes a dying person's eyes, what? Before what? For death is regarded as what? Shedder of blood. One may not tear garments, nor bear the shoulder in mourning, nor make lamentations for him, nor bring a coffin into the house in his presence before he dies. nor may begin the recital of Tzudek Hadin before his soul departs. However, if there is what? Something which causes a hindrance to the departure of the soul. Example, if near the house where the guy is dying there's a knocking sound, a woodcutter is chopping, or there is salt on his tongue, and these hinder the departure of what? Of his soul, it is permitted to what? To remove it. For there is no direct involvement in this, since he merely removed the hindrance. Shulchan Aruch Yeridea. So that's what the maidservant did, Bathsheba. What did she do? She just stopped him praying. So that was passive. That was passive euthanasia, and that is permitted. So a dying person, you have to treat him in all respects as what? He's alive. If you close his eyes before he's dead, you speed up his death, you're called what? A murderer. Reminds me of a story. This grandpa was dying. He was dying. And all his life he loved apple strudel. He loved apple. I also love apple strudel. That was his favorite dish. He's lying on his deathbed. We have plenty of time. He's lying on his deathbed, and he smells in the kitchen his wife, the baba. How do you say the baba? The grandmother is making apple strudel. And that was his what? His favorite dish. So he sends one of his granddaughters and please ask grandma to give me a piece of apple strudel before I die. It's my favorite food. So he sends the granddaughter in. A few minutes later she comes back empty-handed. He says, my dear granddaughter, where's the apple strudel? She says, Grandma said, no, I can't give you, that's for the shiva.
I said, only but a goodie.
Those oldies but goodies. I can't give you a piece of the strudel, that's for the shiva. People come to the house. So Nebuch, he didn't get his dying wish. Okay? He went without the apple strudel. But anyway, no one's allowed to commit suicide. But we see there are exceptions. Shimshon, Major Roy Klein, and there's a major exception. If you look at, you see the source, Gershon, source number 13, Tractate Avodah Zorah, page 18. See that? But I didn't bring you Tosfot. Tosfot there, Rabbeinu Tam says, incredible. Rabbeinu Tam lived during the Crusades. On this Gemara, in Avodah Zorah 18a, Rabbeinu Tam says that if Jews are afraid that the Goyim will capture them and force them to desecrate one of the big three Averot, one of the big three, Avodah Zarah, to worship idols, to commit sexual immorality, or to commit murder, and the Goyim will capture them and torture them to commit the big three, then what? Mitzvah lachabel va'atzmo. Mitzvah lachabel. Says Rabbeinu Tam, Tosfos 18, Avodah Zarah. You know you won't be able to withstand the torture and you'll break one of the big three cardinal sins. Then says Rabbeinu Tam, incredible, mitzvah lachabel va'atzmo. Then it's a mitzvah to what? To commit suicide. Based on this Rabbeinu Tam, the Jews of York, England, kill themselves. Don't steal my thunder, Sarah. You're ahead of me, always ahead of me. The Jews of York, England, used this Tosfot to kill themselves rather than submit to be forced to be baptized. They knew that the Goyim would torture them, they wouldn't withstand the torture to become Christians. So based on this Tosfot, not just the Jews of York, England, but throughout the Middle Ages, many Jews never what? Killed themselves. But I heard a talk from Chaim Soloveitchik, and he said that if you read the terrible accounts that took place in the Middle Ages, the Jews not only killed themselves, but they killed their own children. Matty, this he doesn't understand. Because the heter is lechabel ba'atzmo. Rabbeinu Tam says it's a mitzvah to kill yourself rather than become baptized against your will. But it says nowhere, Gershon, that you're allowed to kill what? Your innocent children. Where did they get that from? Chaim Soloveitchik heard a talk many years ago, the son of Yoshe Ber, and he says he just doesn't understand. The heter is only to commit suicide rather than be forced to be baptized. But there's no heter, Yehuda Tomat, to kill your innocent children. And yet they did that in many accounts, eyewitness accounts. One second. Now how does Rabbeinu Tam know that it's okay? He brings a Rai Masechta Gittin, page 57. After Titus destroyed the second temple, the Romans took 400 teenage girls and boys, and they're going to make them into gigolos and harlots. They captured the most beautiful looking and handsome teenage boys and girls. Tractate Gittin, page 57. So they were going back to after the Churban. The Romans were going to make them male prostitutes and female prostitutes. So what did these 400 teenagers do, Gershom? They jumped into the water. They drowned. Al Kiddush Hashem. So Rabbeinu Tam says, you see, if the Goyim are going to force you to commit one of the big three, sexual immorality, and you won't be able to withstand the torture, and you'll do it, then there's a mitzvah to what? Lo yaleinu, to what? Commit suicide. But nowhere is there a heter to kill your innocent children, and yet Nebuch, countless communities, including York, England, and other places, also lo yaleinu killed their children first. So that is mind-boggling. But now we get to what Sarah said. Sarah said, Rav Shlomo Goren Zechat Tzaddik Livracha used this Tosfot to justify the martyrs of Masada. The martyrs of Masada, where over 900 Jews killed themselves. Rav Goren says that the heter was based on this Tosfot. They knew the Romans are going to capture them, force their women to commit sexual immorality, and the Romans were notorious for homosexuality. They're going to force the men to become homos. And committing adultery or homosexuality is what? A cardinal sin where you have to give your life for. So therefore, Rav Goren said that the people of Masada were justified to kill themselves and the women to kill themselves because they were going to be used for adultery, prostitution, homosexuality, which is a cardinal sin, and their life wouldn't be worth living. So again, in Masada, they killed themselves. They also killed the children, no? Yep. So that heter, I just don't understand where that comes from. But this is Rav Goren tried to rehabilitate the reputation of the martyrs of Masada by saying that they based their heter to do what they did on this Tosfot in Avodah Zarah, page 18, and also Masechta Gittin 57, where the 400 teenagers committed suicide. The boys knew they would make them force them to commit homosexuality, and the girls will force them into prostitution, and therefore they were permitted to commit suicide. Lo yaleinu. So what do we see from these sources? That what? Active euthanasia is what? Prohibited. Active euthanasia is always prohibited. But passive euthanasia, like in source number 14, you see source number 14 again. However, see the underline, however, if there is something which causes a hindrance for the neshama to depart, like near the house for the dying person, there's a knocking sound, a woodcutter, or there's salt on his tongue, these hinder the departure of the soul, then it is permitted to remove it, because there's no direct act in involvement, since he only removed the hindrance to the dying person. So passive euthanasia sometimes is permitted, but active euthanasia is what? Never permitted. But you see from this Gemara that one handmaid, knew better than all the chief rabbis. And Moshe rules like the handmaid, because women have a bina yetera. They have more, what? Compassion. More compassion and more understanding. Where do we see this example? Tractate Sota, page 12. Amram, the chief rabbi of Israel at the time, Moses' father, divorced his mother, remember? Tractate Sota, page 12. Why have children? They'll wind up in the bottom of the Nile River. So he divorced Yocheved. So if the rabbi divorced his wife, the Hasidim what? Follows. So there you have the Jewish problem solved. No more Jewish babies. End of the Jewish problem. Little Miriam. She was 5 years old. She said, Abba, your decree is worse than Stalin. I mean, worse than Paroi. She said, what? Little girl? She said, Abba, you, Paroi decreed no Jewish boys to be born. Be killed. Right? But he said nothing about Jewish girls. By divorcing mommy, you're preventing from Jewish girls to be born. So your decree is worse than Paroi. Paroi's guys are on the men, boys, not on the girls. By divorcing mommy, you're preventing Jewish girls from being born. So what did he say?
You're right.
You're telling me, I'm the chief rabbi. You belong in romper room. Remember romper room? Go back to your milk and cookies. What are you telling me? But no, Connie. He listened to his little girl, the chief rabbi, remarried Yocheved, who was born. Holy Moses. If it wasn't for little Miriam in the romper room, no holy Moses, no redeemer, no lawgiver. What's the message, Yolana? What's the message? Listen to your little girl. Your little girl is a bino yetera. She can see better than the chief rabbi sometimes. What a powerful message. The women put us to shame, Yehuda. The women put us to shame. Now let's talk about, we still have time, Asara B'Tevis, right? Asara B'Tevot. Why are we fasting today? Well, in the year 587 BCE, which happens to be 2,604 years ago, the Babylonians besieged the walls of Jerusalem. 2,604 years ago. So why am I still fasting today? The siege begins. The siege begins. Now, why should I fast for the Khurban? That happened thousands of years ago, Connie. Let's imagine. Let's imagine if my beloved parent is homeless. How would I feel? And who made him homeless? I did. How would I feel? Our beloved parent, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, has been homeless for close to 2,000 years. And who made him homeless, Ray? Our sins. Our sins put our beloved parent, with a capital P, made him homeless. So, if we realize that my beloved parent is homeless and I made him homeless, that's a reason to what? To fast. We don't look at it that way. Kadosh Baruch Hu was homeless, and we made him so. He destroyed his house to give us a kapara. And therefore, how come, Batshev, everybody in life has something lacking? Batshev, anybody that has everything? Even Donald Trump doesn't have everything. Everybody in life is lacking something, whether it's health, children, wealth. So, nobody's mushlam. How do you say that in English? Why is every person, Masha, have tzoros and problems? So the Kabbalah teaches, Lama yesh chesaron l'chol adam, kedei lahargish, that God is also lacking. What's God lacking? His house. God hasn't had a house in 2,000 years. God is lacking. He has no house, no Mesa Migdash. So therefore, God causes us that we should have what? Lacking in life. That Hashem is also lacking. We have to pray and get what? Instead of sinat chinam, to have a havat chinam. And when Hashem is not lacking anymore, then we won't be lacking anymore. Hashem is lacking a home, a house. So therefore, in life, we have to have tzorot lo yaleinu, to sensitize ourselves that God also has tzorot. Imagine being homeless for 2,000 years. So today's fast is mentioned in the book of Zechariah. Today is called Tzomo Asiri, the fast of the 10th month. October is not the 10th month. Connie, today is the 10th month. If Nisan is the first month, then today is 10-10. Remember 10-10 wins New York? Today is 10-10. Today is the 10th day, Yael of the 10th month. What happened today? The king of Babylon besieged the walls of Jerusalem. No food can go into the city. The siege begins. So Tisha B'Av actually began when? When? Today. There's something very strange about today's fast, Connie. Ma nishtana asora b'tevot mikol hatzomot. Ma nishtana. The fast today is the only fast that can fall out when? On Friday. You know that? No other fast can fall out on Friday. Happened a couple of times in the last few years since I've been in Israel. It's Friday night. I fasted. I'm singing Shalom Aleichem, and I'm still fasting on Shabbat. Why is Asura B'Tevis so special? The only fast that you fast on Friday night, the only fast theoretically you would fast on Shabbos, except what? Yom Kippur. There is no other fast when you fast on Shabbos except Yom Kippur. What in the world can Asura B'Tevis have in common with what? With Yom Kippur. So the Vudraham says something amazing. He says the 4 rabbinical fasts mentioned in Zechariah, they get pushed off when it comes Shabbos. Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbos Hamlochim. You fast? No, you push it off to Sunday, right? Shivas B'Tammuz, you push it off to Sunday. And there is no other fast in the Jewish calendar, not even Yom Kippur, that can fall when? On Friday. Only Asar B'Tevis. Asar B'Tevis, our calendar is so arranged it cannot fall on Shabbos. Because if it would fall on Shabbos, you would have to what? Fast on Shabbos, which is not true on Tisha B'Av. But it does fall on Friday. And you fast on Friday, and it's Friday night. I'm singing Shalom Aleichem, Eishes Chayil, and what? Ray, and I'm fasting. What's so special about Asar B'Tevis? It's one of the rabbinic fasts mentioned by Zechariah. If it would fall on Shabbos, you couldn't push it off. So the Avudraham says, it says by today's fast in Ezekiel 24, Be'etzem hayom hazeh, somach melbava Yerushalayim. God tells Ezekiel, Be'etzem hayom hazeh, in the essence of this day, which day? 10-10, the king of Babylon, what's his name? Saddam Hussein? So damn insane. Nebuchadnezzar besieged the walls of Jerusalem. And that word, Be'etzem hayom hazeh, is used when? Yom Kippur. So the Avudraham makes a Gezerah Shavah. It says Be'etzem hayom hazeh, and today's fast, it says Be'etzem hayom hazeh on Yom Kippur. So just like Yom Kippur, you would have to fast on Shabbos. So what? Beinish, today you would have to fast what? On Shabbos. What's the connection? Just because it's saying, what are you playing, musical words? Etzem means essence, etzem. What in the world can Yom Kippur have to do about Sheva with what? With Asar B'Tevis. Says the Chassam Sofer something amazing. Ma keshev between Yom Kippur and today. Yom Kippur is the Yom Hadin. Who will live and who will die? Today, said Chassam Sofer, it's also Yom Hadin. Motai Hagalut Nigmar. Im B'Shana Haba Im Mashiach Yavo. You know what Chassam Sofer says? That's why the same word is used by Yom Kippur, Maddie, as is used by what? Today. Just like Yom Kippur, the essence of the day is a judgment day, Etzem, who will live and who will die. Today is also Etzem, Ezekiel 24. Because today, God judges us also. Not who will live or who will die, but God judges what? If the Mashiach will come this coming year. Today, God decides in Mashiach Yavo. If the Golas will finally be what? Over. So it's a judgment day. Kippur's a judgment day, life and death. Today is a judgment day if this will finally be the year that the Mashiach will come. Wow. And he says even further, all the other rabbinic fasts were fasting al-avar. On the past. Tisha B'Av, the temple was burned thousands of years ago. Shivas B'Tammuz, the Romans broke through the walls of Jerusalem thousands of years ago. Tzom Gedalia was executed thousands of years ago. So all the rabbinic fasts, Yehuda, are what?
In the past.
Al-Avar. This fast, with the Yom Adin Al-Atid.
Today.
Al-Atid. How do you say Atid in English?
Future.
Future. Today, God decides if this will be the year when the Mashiach finally comes. It's the only fast that we're doing Al-Atid. It's the Yom Adin Al-Atid. All the other fasts are the Avar. So we get our act together and start loving each other. So perhaps God will judge today, Ray, that this is finally the year when Mashiach comes. So we're fasting not for past events like Tisha B'Av and Shavuos and B'Tammuz, Yehuda. We're fasting what? For the future. Perhaps this will be the year when God will judge that it's finally time, Connie, for the Messiah to what?
Come.
Finally to come. Wow. That's pretty incredible. That's pretty incredible. So we have to do, Rambam says that today's fast, Ray, is not to go on a diet. Today's fast is what? To focus on tshuva. Rambam says, Hilchas Tainis, if you're fasting today and you don't do tshuva, you wasted your time. So I don't understand, Yolanda. So let me just do tshuva. The purpose of the fast, says Rambam today, is to get me to do tshuva. So why can't I do tshuva without fasting? Cut to the chase. How do you say in English? Cut to the chase, Yuda. Cut to the chase. Get to the point. The whole purpose of the fast is what? To do tshuva. Why can I not do tshuva without what? Fasting. You hear the question on the table? Tshuva, repentance, return to sender, or get back to where you once belonged. That's tshuva. Because what?
Because in fasting, you're also suffering, your body's suffering, and you feel it more, you feel more contrite.
So what got to do with tshuva?
Because you know that you're doing it.
Why can't I do tshuva without fasting? You're on the right track, Yosef. You're on the right track.
Because you can also get a steak during the day and you're still,
Because it's hard to do tshuva, Elishev, with a salami sandwich in your mouth. I mean, you have the falafel, the hummus dripping from your mouth. It's hard to do tshuva. Right, Abraham? You want to focus on the godly soul. Right? It's hard to do that when you're what? Stuffing, feed me, feed my face. So to help you concentrate on tshuva, which is who I am, a godly soul, so therefore we focus on the neshama, which couldn't care less about a salami sandwich or a hot dog. So that's the practical reason. To help me focus on the task at hand, so you focus on the neshama. Food today is a distraction from the task. Shelley, what's the task? Tshuva. But the Kabbalistic explanation, I'm over 40, we can talk Kabbalah. I don't know about you, but I'm over 40. The Zohar Kodesh says, why is tshuva tied up with fasting? The first mitzvah a human being was given, don't eat that treifa tree. Right, Lillian? First mitzvah, God said, that tree is treif for you. Don't eat it. That's what he said. The tree, treifa tree, right, Yehuda? So the first sin that a human being ever committed was eating when God said what? Don't eat. Don't eat. Don't eat. But no, they had to have that tree. Plenty other trees they could eat. They had to go for the treifa tree. If it's forbidden, then it must be what?
Good.
Really good. Right? The Pasuk in Mishlei, Dr. Abramson, Mayim genavim imtaku, stolen waters are what? Sweeter. So, the first mitzvah, the first sin, was eating when God said what? Don't eat. So what's the granddaddy of all sin, Sarah? Eating when God said don't eat. So the Zohar says that's the granddaddy of all sin. All other sins that we do is a result, I don't want to say original sin, but if man would not have done that original sin, nobody would ever do any other sin. Mashiach would have come 6,000 years ago, but no. So the first human couple ate when God said don't eat. That's the granddaddy of all sin. All of the sin flows from that first sin. So if you want to do tshuva, you got to go back to the future.
Don't eat.
By not eating, we are repairing the first sin that a human being ever did, was when God says don't eat. And all of the sin flows from that. So the Zohar says by not eating, we are doing tshuva. All sins come from that first original sin, which God says don't eat that tree. So somehow the fasting is tied up with the original sin. I don't want to use that word original, the first sin of eating when God said don't eat, and all of the sins comes from that. So somehow by fasting we're metaking not just our own sin, but also the sin of what? Adam and Chava. Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. So they took a bite. So what has it got to do with me? Shelley, we all have Adam and Eve's DNA. We all have their DNA of Adam and Chava. DNA, divine natural ability. Oh. We're all nitzos of their neshama. So, the purpose of the fast today, we say tzom mo'il, not tzom kal. What does tzom kal mean? What? Miller Lite, a beer light? No. Tzom mo'il. What is mo'il? How do you say mo'il in English? Effective. Meaningful, effective. That the fasting should make us what? Do tshuva. And the Rambam says that we have to remember le'oreh halvavot, to awaken the hearts to do tshuva. We're like sleepwalking. The fast day is what? A wake-up call to remember to do tshuva, to finally bury the hatchet, not in each other's back. But finally, Rav Kook said, the only way, the temple is destroyed for sinat chinam, right? Sinat chinam. How do you fix sinat chinam, Yehuda? Ahavat chinam. Right? Hatred. Baseless hatred. Sinat chinam. What does sinat chinam mean, Batsheva?
Sinat chinam, baseless.
Translate the words, what it means. Hatred for free. It means hatred for free. That's what it means. Free hatred. Sinat chinam. Now, what does that mean, free hatred? Nobody's crazy enough to hate somebody for no reason. Even a Meshugana has a reason. Right? Sinat chinam means it's hatred for free. You might, no, chinam. Ray, you know Hebrew as good as me. Chinam means free. I'm a Ulpan man, Ulpan 103. Chinam means free. Sinat chinam means hatred for free. Now what the heck does that mean, Elisheva? You might have a reason to hate the guy. But it's free. You're letting a guy that you hate live inside your head rent-free.
Free ride.
The guy did something bad to you. So he's living inside your headspace. Is he paying your rent? You're having a bad hair day, right? You're aggravated. You're obsessed with him. You're letting him live inside your head, Avi, for free. Why do you want to do that? So he did something to you. But what do you get by hating him? You're having a bad hair day. You get ulcers. A victim. How do you evict him from your headspace? Stop hating him. If you stop hating him, you evict him. You don't let him live inside you. So Ahavat chinam. Ahavat chinam. Love somebody for free. No strings attached. That's how you fix what? That's how you fix sinat chinam. Yosef HaTzadik, didn't the brothers display sinat chinam against him? And what did he return them with? Love, ahavat chinam. So Rav Kook said, the Churban happened because of sinat chinam, and Mashiach can only come because of what? Ahavat chinam. And therefore, when you're fasting, the word tzom in Hebrew, Rav Soloveitchik points out, the word tzom in Hebrew comes from the word tzama, tzadi mem hey, which means to braid together. Braid, like a lady's braid. The word tzom in Hebrew, said Rav Soloveitchik, comes from the Hebrew tzadi mem hey. Tzama means to braid together. The purpose of a fast is we should all unite together. If I'm hungry and thirsty and you're hungry and thirsty, I can feel your pain. Because we're in the same boat. So the purpose of a tzom is lasot tzama, said the great Bas Soloveitchik, that we should braid and unite together. And only by doing that can we bring the Mashiach. So just fasting and not doing tshuva, and the ikar tshuva is ben adam lechavero. The ikar tshuva is ben adam lechavero, right? Between a man and a fellow man. The Baal HaTanya in the Baal Shem Tov was that, how can you love God? There's a mitzvah in the Torah about Sheva to love God. How do you love God? By loving a fellow Jew. By loving a fellow Jew, you're automatically loving God. So when you do a mitzvah in Adam L'Chaveiro, it's a twofer. You put on tefillin, you're pleasing God. You do a favor for a fellow Jew, you're pleasing the fellow Jew and what? And also God. It's a twofer. Every mitzvah in Adam L'Chaveiro is a double header. You're pleasing your fellow Jew, and you're also pleasing what? His Creator. Because we all have a piece of God inside of us. Chelik Hashem Amo. We all have a Tzelem Elohim. We all have a godly soul. And therefore, there's a very strange Maharal. With this, I'll finish. We have a couple of minutes. Very strange. In the middle of Kiddush Levana, we did it last Shabbos night. Middle of Kiddush Levana, you turn to a guy and say Shalom Aleichem. What does Shalom Aleichem got to do with Kiddush Levana? Did you do Kiddush Levana last Shabbos night? You say Shalom Aleichem to 3 people. Why do you do that in the middle of Kiddush Levana? What's it got to do with anything? The Gemara in Sanhedrin 42 says, whoever does Kiddush Levana, ki'ilu mikabel penei ashchina. Close but no cigar. You do Kiddush Levana, it's like you're receiving God's presence. Are you really receiving God's presence? No. We're not moon worshippers. We praise God through His handiwork. We're not praying to the moon. Long religion. We are praising God for His handiwork. What's the closest heavenly body? The moon. Blue moon. So Sanhedrin 42 says when you do Kiddush Levana, it's make-believe receiving God's presence. You're not really receiving His presence, you're only seeing His handiwork. So why you say Shalom Aleichem in the middle? Says the Maharal MiPrague. You sitting down? When you turn to a fellow Jew with a shmeichel and a Shalom Aleichem, it's not ki'ilu mekabel b'nei Ashchina, it's mekabel b'nei Ashchina. Yiddish, Ilana? Wow. So when you're doing Kiddush Levana, you make believe receiving God's presence. Make believe. I think it's called virtual reality, Batsheva. It's not really God's presence. But when you turn to a fellow Jew with a Shalom Aleichem and a smile, it's Mekabel Pnei Ashchina. Say what? Because every Jew has the Shechina inside of him. Therefore you say Shalom Aleichem to a single Jew. You say Shalom, why do you say Shalom Aleichem in the plural to a single Jew? Shalom Aleichem, that's plural. Why say to a single Jew? Says the Maharal, because when you're greeting a single Jew, you're greeting him and his chelik elahai mimal and his tzelem Elohim. It's a twofer. Shalom Aleichem. So if enough of us would do that, in this week's parsha, it's amazing. Oh, dinky. This week's parsha, Yaakov gives Yehuda the bracha that he's going to be Mashiach. La Yosa Shavit me Yehuda. Yehuda's going to be Mashiach. And right after that, he says, "Well, ben shinayim mechalav." After he says Yehuda will be Mashiach, right, Rav Avram? He says, "Well, ben shinayim mechalav," and teeth whiter than milk. I don't understand that. Mashiach is going to be what? A dentist? Dr. Abramson. Is it a commercial for a dentist or a toothpaste? La Yosa Shavit me Yehuda. Yehuda will be Mashiach. Atkiyova Shiloh. Mashiach is Shiloh. And then Leven Shinayim Echalav. Leven Shinayim Echalav. Teeth whiter than milk. That means Mashiach is going to be what? A dentist or what? A shinanit? How do you say it? They want to clean the teeth. What? What's going on? What's going? You sitting down, Dr. Abramson? It's not a dentist commercial. It's not a toothpaste commercial. Leven shinayim echalav. So the Gemara in Ksubas, page 111. You can look it up. I love milkshakes. I do. But if someone gives me a toothy smile, Lillian, it's better than a milkshake. Because a milkshake, I'll finish in a minute or two. But someone gives me a toothy smile, that hanoah stays with me all day and perhaps what? Forever. Uleben shinayim mechalav. You want to bring Mashiach? Not toothpaste commercial. Supers 111. Uleben shinayim. If you give someone a toothy smile, mechalav, it's more precious than buying him a milkshake. Isn't that incredible? Therefore, great rabbis always smiled. Some people just can't smile. They're like constipated. But the sign of a great man is to smile on a fellow Jew. Give him a toothy smile is better than buying him a milkshake. Because you make him feel good. You give him simcha. And the Vilna Gaon says, the purpose of all the mitzvot, when you're smiling, the Vilna Gaon says the purpose of all mitzvot is to give each other simcha. Did you know that?
Happiness.
Vilna Gaon said that. So you make a Jew happy. Leben shinayim echalav. You want to bring the Mashiach? Yehuda, smile on a fellow Jew. Don't frown. Give him a shmeichel. A shalom aleichem. And you're mikabel penei ashchina. Wow. Who knows that? If we really believe that, how could I be upset with my neighbor? How could I speak lashon hara about him? I'm not only slandering him. Who am I slandering? God. The chelik Elohai mimal, etzelem Elohim, ki chelik Hashem amo. And Pasuk in Zoy Sabracha, ki chelik Hashem amo. God is a piece. God is a portion of what?
Everybody.
Of all of his people. How could I slander him? But we don't think like that. So every time you do a favor for a fellow Jew, it's a twofer. You're pleasing him and his Tzelem Elohim. And his creator that lives inside of him. So next time you see a fellow Yid, you should what? Ray, shmeichel. I say shmeichel. Smile. Now I know, Shirley, I know you like Rav Pam's. I'm going to finish with this. Rav Pam's. There's a mitzvah to walk in God's ways. Lachta b'drachav. In the Berchat Kohanim that we say every morning. Any Kohen here in the house? Kohen? No? Kohen. You're a Kohen? Kohen. You are Hashem ponav alecha. May God shine his face on you. Says Rashi, God shows you ponim sachakot. What does that mean? God shows you a smiley face. The Birchot Kohanim, look in Rashi in Pashas Nosai. You are Hashem ponav alecha. Says Rashi, God shows you ponim sachakot. Ray. That means happy smiley face. Says Rapam Zatzal. Every time you smile on a fellow Jew, you're doing which mitzvah? Valachta bedrachav. How do you say it in English? Valachta bedrachav. Ma'u afata. You smile on a fellow Jew. Doesn't cost no money, Maddie. Doesn't cost any money to smile. Okay, you can't give tzedakah. Give the poor person a shmeichel and a kind word. And then you're walking in God's ways. Says my great Rebbe Rapam, you are Hashem ponav alecha. Put on a happy face.
Class again on Thursday.
We have a class again on Thursday.
This is Sunday. It's Thursday.
Today, I'm mixed up. Today is Thursday. We have a class on Sunday at 2 o'clock. When may we test God? There's a negative commandment, Ray, you're not allowed to test God. I'll put on tefillin if I'll win the lottery. But there is one mitzvah where God says, let's make a deal. Remember Monty Hall? He was Jewish. He just died. There is one mitzvah where you're allowed to make a deal with God. That's Sunday at 2 o'clock. When are you allowed to make a deal with God? Tit for tat, let's make a deal. Sunday at 2. Right now we're going to daven mincha. Tzom mo'il. Thank you.